And here we are, another year has passed since I started my international YouTube career. So where do we left off 1 year ago? At the end of August I attended the community game jam. But this time I wasn't alone. I was in a team with 2 of my friends. We hadn't got much time and the week was pretty chaotic, but in the end the feedback was good. In September the semester began, so I started working only half-time and I switched from Stonefall to Eldon. I had to focus mostly on procedural generation because it was the central topic of my thesis. Then a nice guy found my project and wanted to join. He got into the project fast and it was good because I could focus on the procedural stuff while he would develop other systems. But soon he stepped back. But we've already decided to switch to 2D. And just because he's left, it still wasn't worth it to make isometric view at that moment. But of course this may change in the future. In October I changed the game's view to a top-down one using my Ludendorff 42 entries assets. Which, by the way, I still use. Then I implemented room prefabs so the dungeons could be a bit more controllable and have unique design rooms in them instead of just fully algorithmic content. By November I've already started improving the pathfinding as well, because it was just a basic A-star, which felt a bit artificial. I also made a homing fireball just for fun. After this I reworked the skill system, it got modular, so now I could combine lots of different behaviors. I could make them bounce, spawn them in a circle, penetrate targets, deal more damage as it goes through more and more targets, homing projectiles, area of effect spells, and many more. Then I started working on improving the procedural generation again, because I got close to this semester's presentation date. I added more customizations to the levels and also a new kind of corridor, which is just a straight short connector, unlike the other one which is long and winding. In December I haven't got much time, I had to finish the semester, and I also had a business trip to Vietnam. And then the year just sort of ended. In January, after quickly finishing my exams, I still got a few weeks before the university would start again. So before I would have to start working on Eldon again, I wanted to have some fresh air. I experimented with fully voxel maps in my other project, Stonefall. It felt really good making craters and killing the other players by shooting the floor out completely. But then February came and most likely my last semester in my life has begun. Most students freeze their thesis project before their last semester and focus only on writing the thesis itself. But I wanted to progress with the game as well. But with this there was a chance that what I would write down in my thesis at the start of the week would become obsolete by the end of the week. So I planned a bit and managed to develop the game, make devlogs, and also write my thesis. In February I managed to implement prefab levels and then managed to have multiple levels which are traversable. I also created an analyzer tool which would make reports about how the level generator performed with specific input parameters. It was a good start to make the debugging a bit easier. By March I froze the map generation of the game, so I could write about it in my thesis. I also started a new series in which I showcased games under development, which look really interesting to me. The first entry was an isometric ARPG heavily inspired by Diablo. By the end of the month I also updated the visuals of the game by having a fancy new 2D lighting engine. In March I also bought a telescope and I managed to see the Moon, Venus and some stars. In April I started making a UI, also improving the AI and optimizing lots of stuff, but these improvements still need their own devlog because they are not finished yet. I also decided to make a smaller game to taste the full cycle of game development before I would invest in too much time in Eldon. So my goal for Ludum Dare 46 was releasing a game under 2.5 months. In the middle of the month, during the jam, I made Boiling Planet. I got good feedback, but I decided that I should wait working on it till the results are in. Needless to say, I couldn't resist, so I started brainstorming immediately. In May, I showcased Rum and Gun, a pirate-themed ARPG, which I really enjoyed. And every now and then the content gets extended, and I've just recently played with it again. Then in the middle of the month, the results came in and it was official. I grabbed my keyboard and started cleaning up the mess, which was made under 48 hours. I also started making my own cider. In June it got a visual overhaul, lots of new stuff, and a new name, Regrowth. And I made a Steam page so I could start gathering wishlists as soon as possible. And now that I'm here, feel free to check out Regrowth on Steam. And also you can download the alpha, or if you are watching from the future, the beta version on itch and GameJolt. And if you like it, don't forget to wishlist it. I also came up with an alias, Portgate Studios. I bought a domain, built a placeholder site, and created social media accounts for this alias. I also started using new platforms for marketing, like Instagram or Imager. By this time I delayed the release by 1 month, so instead of mid-July, I would release it mid-August. By the end of the month I had my final exam and I finished my master's degree. But now I had to start working more than half-time at my job, but luckily it's still not full-time, only 4 days a week. By July I started preparing for Regrowth Open Alpha. At the start of the month I sent out a closed alpha version, which had still parts from the Game Jam version, had no tutorial, and lacked some crucial systems. After that I made a new main menu and also integrated Firebase, so I could track exceptions, bug reports and feedbacks. If something goes wrong, I got a mail about it instantly. And in future projects I could just copy and paste this module with just a few button pushes. The quarantine got easier by this time, so I could finally go to the countryside, where I managed to see Jupiter and its 4 Galilean moons, Saturn, its rings and Titan, and also Mars. By the end of the month I had to sort out a few things, because the deadline was getting closer and I realized that I can't release in August. So I decided that instead of stressing and burning out, I don't want to ruin my hobby. I set the release date to the 4th quarter of 2020, and in first iteration it would be the start of October. I also bottled my cider, and after a week of sitting, for a first timer it tasted great. And one of the bottles exploded. In August I started reworking the learning curve and the beginner experience with new starting levels and tutorial system. As it turns out, for most people the game was really hard. And also regrowth got featured in an article. There were videos and posts about my modded GTA server, but this was something new. Then I rediscovered Outer Wilds and sank deeply into it for a few days. Then I had a week of holiday. It was relaxing, and I also managed to see the Perseid meteor shower and the Milky Way. Then I came back and dwelled into Outer Wilds again for a week or so, finished it and went back to regrowth. I finished the starting levels and then started working on the new progression system and on a new mechanic, which is wind. And at the end of the month I received my first dollars from a generous supporter. This wasn't the first time in my game development journey, because I've already earned some money through modding and browser game clones, but this was the first time I earned some money from a game which was made by me from the ground up. Next week I will release the open beta, and I will try to take it a bit easier so I could still enjoy making games. But now that I think about it, the Steam Autumn Festival is coming in a month or so I should hurry. I can't wait to release this game, and I wonder how it will feel. And also I can't wait to work on Eldon again, but I have also started to think about a game around space exploration, which has been a big dream of mine as well. But also Stonefall is calling me as well. So who knows? And I've just realized again that it's September and school is starting. And I won't experience it ever again. Well, maybe through my future children. So if anybody is still watching, then well, poor you. I much appreciate it, and thanks for watching, and see you next time.